Now it is possible with functions in Excel to replace part of a string with some other text. Let's have a look at the two potential functions in action in a new sheet in our employees workbook. I'm going to enter the phrase Newcastle upon Tyne. Now what I might want to do to this string is replace upon with u. Now there are two functions that will enable us to replace parts of strings. Just widen to see them in action. The first of those is replace. So equals replace. The parameters are then alt text. Well, that's the string that we're going to look at. That cell there, comma. At which point do you want to start replacing characters within this string? Well, it's at position number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, comma. How many characters do you want to replace? 4 for the U, P, O, and N, comma. What do I then want to replace them with? Now, I don't need to replace them with 4 characters. I can replace them with anything. I'm going to replace those 4 characters with the letter U for U. Close brackets, return, and I get my result. Newcastle U Tyne. Now, the replace function works well. Obviously, you saw a little drawback already in that I had to count at what position the upon started. Now, I could replace that 11, which I had to count, with the find function that we've seen previously. So I could say, actually, let's go find upon within that string there, return. So I'm placing a function in here, which is going to be the start number, and find will find out at what place within my string upon start. So it will figure out the 11 for me. When I press return, I will get the same result. But what I haven't had to do is count where upon figures in that string, which is useful because it makes it more dynamic, and I can use it for other strings which might have upon in them, but have shorter or longer town names. Now that's one way of doing the replace of a part of a text string. The other is to use a function called substitute. Now the substitute function will work slightly better for me in this particular case. So what's the text that I'm wanting to substitute on? Well, it's that one there, comma. What old text am I looking for? I'm looking for the words upon, comma. So I don't need to calculate where that upon starts within the string. I'm just going to say replace the word upon in that string with the letter U. There is then an optional fourth parameter here, instance num. If I leave that blank, as I will do, it will replace every occurrence of upon in that string with the letter U. If I actually put a number in there, I can define which occurrence within the string of upon do I want to replace. So if it so happened that in my string upon appeared 3 times, I could actually target which of those 3 occurrences I would want changing. The first, the second, or the third by putting a 1, a 2, or a 3 as that instance num. In our particular example here, there is only 1 upon anyway, so there wouldn't be much point in putting a 1 in there because I'm going to replace them all. Return, and I get the same result. Newcastle U Tyne and Newcastle U Tyne using either replace or the substitute. Let's use the clever little formula text formula. Point at these 2 cells so we can see the formulas in their naked format. So it's equals replace the cell or the string we're looking to replace part of, then the start point within that string to start replacing from, how many characters to replace, and then what we're replacing the space left with. Now, what you're replacing with does not have to be the same length as what you're taking out. It can be shorter, as it is here in our case, or it could be longer if you wanted to. The substitute function does pretty much the same thing, but without having to tell it where in the string to look for, because the substitute function will do the looking. So it looks for the letters upon, all must be consecutive, and then replaces upon with U. So I could use either of these in our employee sheet to do the exactly same on our towns. So insert equals substitute, anything in that string where upon appears, comma, replace it with U. Return, and we see we get the same result first because upon doesn't appear in there, but if I then replicate that down where there is an upon, as in Newcastle upon, I get Newcastle U. All the way down the list that I see Newcastle upon, I see Newcastle U, but none of the others are replaced or edited at all because the letters upon do not appear in their string. If they did, perhaps we have Thirsk upon Ua, return, it becomes Thirsk U Ua. So that's either the replace or the substitute function, whichever suits you or is most applicable to the job in hand, is ideal for replacing parts of a string with a new value.